so first step to getting this assembly disassembled is, well, first of all, it looks something like this. Right, you'd have the glass as the first layer to take off. So what you'll need to do is heat up this middle part here, not too much, because actually you can break this glass. Ask me how I know, but basically heat this up a little bit, just enough to pry from the bottom, and these two snaps right here, 1 and 2, should snap off, and then you have these hooks right here up top, and this middle part is where the adhesive will be. And if you do have heated mirrors, you're going to have these two connectors to unplug, and they usually just go in one of the corners. So now that you got that off, set that aside, and we can move on to taking off the black trim. Alright, so this outer black trim is held in by 4 screws. See if I can get that on. You can probably see them. Top 2 here, the one here on the left, and then this hidden one, which is all the way down here. And after you remove those 4, we can get this outer trim piece off. Alright, 4 screws. Set those to the side. And now we have this black trim piece to take care of. So what you're going to do is, on the outer portion, you're going to lift here. Make sure these wires don't get caught when you lift out. But then you're going to kind of pull back that way. So it does have 2 like hooks holding it in on this flat side here. So just make sure you're up all the way around on the bottom and on the top, and then you can just shift again to the left, or to the outer part of the mirror, and then get those wires fed out, and out she comes. So now that that's part done, that part's done, we can move on to the base, this part here. So to get the base removed, you'll have this 1 screw here holding in this gasket. So we'll remove that. And then we will pop out this gasket. I like to grab it from this little hook here, and then it should just come up all the way around. This harness will be taped to the gasket, so you might have to take this tape off to get enough wiggle room to, peek inside there and get the 3 screws that hold the motor or the swivel assembly in. So I'm not sure if you can see all 3 screws here. There's the obvious one right there. We got one right in here, and then right here. So we got 3 holding in the swivel. So let's get those removed. All right, 3 screws for the swivel / motor removed. If you didn't untape this gasket to get to the screws, you're going to have to fish the wire through to completely take off the base. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so I found it easiest to, instead of unraveling the tape, if you have a knife sharp enough, just cut right at that slit that's in the gasket and just peel the tape back like this, because the gasket will just kind of move at that slit. You can kind of spread it apart and then take the gasket and separate it. So set that aside, and now this base should just pull straight out. Fish the wire and clip all the way through, and of course the connector. And now the base has been removed, and you have your gasket slash spacer. I say spacer because this is not really keeping any water from getting inside. It's hard plastic, so I don't really consider it a gasket. But anyways, that's how you get it off. Set that aside as well. And now we come to the heart of it all, which is this whole assembly. And to remove that, firstly, if you have the power folding mirrors, you'll have to fold these out. So they'll have to be in the out position. As you can see, when I disassembled it, it was in the in position. So you can see that's not going to come out because it's hitting right here and then right here at these two spots. So let me move this motor around real quick. I think I've got a 12-volt battery here. Let's see. This is obviously not a very safe way to do it, but the best way to do it is just to remember to do this beforehand. Because if these two contacts touch, we're going to get some sparks. So just being very careful with it. I'm just going to touch each of those to the battery. Now I'll take out my makeshift terminals, which was a blade and a thread pitch gauge. So yeah, so if you don't know, these Milwaukee batteries are 12 volts, the M12 line, and then these are your positive and negative terminals, and it's really good for testing things on the bench. So yeah, I have about 7 of these batteries for not only my tools, but also a dedicated one that I keep on the desk to do 12-volt source testing like this. So now that we're done with that, put that up, put my knife back together, or my blade. Cool. So, as you just saw, I folded it back out, so now it'll clear all the way around. And as you can see, we have one screw here, and that is the only screw holding in that entire assembly. So I'll unscrew that. And now, as you can see, the assembly just dropped. And you can just kind of pull it out. Of course, your turn signal assembly is also in there, so pull that out with it and fish the wire through, and that's it. You have the bare shell of the mirror and the bare base. If you wanted to, you could take these studs out. That looks like a 10 to me. If you have a deep well 10 millimeter socket, you can take these studs out and just send these two pieces off to paint, and then once you get it back, reassemble it, and that's it. So I'll set these aside because we're really not quite done. We just have one final step. If you are just replacing this turn signal assembly, you don't need to disassemble everything. You could leave the base installed still. All you would need to do is get the base turned to expose that screw that holds in this whole assembly, and you can do that without, taking out these 3 screws and separating the base. If you fold the mirror inward, it exposes that one screw, so you can get to it. And then once you have some movement in this assembly, you could fold it forward, and then you would have enough room to disconnect this connector, and then kind of snake this out, and then just replace the assembly, plug it back in, and reassemble it the same way we disassembled it. Put the screw back, put the 4 screws for the trim piece right here, and that would be it, because you didn't take apart any of the base. So changing the turn signal assembly is not super difficult. You will have to take the mirror off of the car, but you won't have to disassemble the mirror completely like we did in this video. So if you're just replacing this, don't worry, it's maybe a 10-minute job and a few curse words, but that's it. So there it is. And if you wanted to get really deep into it, you know, we could disassemble all of this and get to the gears that drive this motor, but unless somebody requests that, I won't be making that video. So that's it.